On the day I was released from prison, I found $1 billion by accident. I immediately dialed my father's number in excitement, but he hung up on me every time. I was worried that something had happened at home. I ran all the way home, but as soon as I reached the door, I heard my brother's wife complaining. "Why did he get out? Shouldn't a criminal like him die in prison?" My mother responded, "When he comes back, we'll kick him out and let him die a poor man's death." Listening to their conversation, my heart sank. I had gone to jail to take the fall for my brother. I had even paid for this house. I cared for them with all my heart, but this was how they treated me. I wanted to turn around and leave, but I couldn't help myself. I knocked on the door. My mother opened it, feigning surprise. "Ethan, you're back so soon. Your father just mentioned he was going to pick you up," she said, looking me over with a forced, pained expression. "You've suffered so much and lost so much weight over the years." How I wished I hadn't overheard that conversation. I longed for her concern to be genuine. I replied with a hint of bitterness. "It's okay. Taxis are convenient." I walked into the house. Vivian, my brother's wife, immediately came over and sprayed me with alcohol, as if she wanted to empty the entire bottle on me. "Don't think too much of it. I'm just using alcohol to cleanse you of any bad luck," she said, her face betraying undisguised disdain. She despised me for being an ex-convict, forgetting that I went to jail for her and Leo. Without a word, I walked toward my old room. "Don't bother looking. There's no room for you in this house," I heard my father say as I took a few steps. He was sitting on the sofa, smoking, with the ashtray full of fresh cigarette butts. My arrival clearly upset him. I stopped and looked at him. "Dad, I was only in prison for 3 years. I didn't die. Do I not deserve a room in this house?" Dad put out his cigarette and replied coldly, "There are many of us here, and only a few rooms. There's no spare room for you." I didn't argue, but I asked, "Where's Leo? Does he feel the same way?" At that moment, Leo came out of the bathroom, looking uncomfortable. "Ethan, Vivian is 2 months pregnant. We really don't have enough space, but you're my brother. If you want, I can make room in the baby's room for now." Leo's response was straightforward. I nodded and said, "Sure. The baby's not due for another 8 months. I'll stay here for a while." Leo's expression froze, and though he looked like he wanted to say something, he held back. Vivian, however, couldn't. She stormed over and shouted, "How can you be so selfish? Can't you see the house is cramped? How dare you take our baby's room? You've got some nerve!" I couldn't help but laugh at her anger. I looked at her and replied, "We all used to fit before I went to jail. Your child isn't even born yet, and suddenly there's no room? Have you forgotten that I paid for this house in full?" My father slammed the table and said sternly, "Ethan, watch your attitude. Do you think you're so great because you paid for the house? Do you think you can just take it from us now that you're out of prison?" I responded, disappointed. "Am I asking you to give me the house? I'm just asking for a room. Is that too much?" He glared at me. "I said there's no room for you here. If you want a place to stay, rent one yourself. We don't owe you anything." A fine thing to say, not owing me anything. You all begged me with tears in your eyes to take the fall for Leo. You told me that if I did, I would be the family's benefactor and you would repay me. All I want now is to live in the room that used to be mine. Is that too much? Is this how you plan to repay me?" I asked, emotions swirling inside me. It was Leo and Vivian who had been driving my car that night, speeding in the wrong direction when they hit someone. My parents came to me immediately. They told me they had worked so hard to get Leo into a prestigious university with a bright future, and that this accident couldn't ruin his life. They said I was just an ordinary employee at a small company, with a future that didn't compare to Leo's. They begged me to take the blame, promising they'd repay me after I was released from prison. I didn't do it for a reward. I did it out of love for my family. I sacrificed my future for Leo, sold my car, depleted my savings, and lost my job. I paid the compensation, took the blame, and endured all the insults. 3 years in prison were a torment, but I survived. And now, instead of gratitude or love, all I found was betrayal. Now you can watch the second part by pressing share and more.